Good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you are. So today we have Kevin Loomis, and he's sorry.
Yes.
Okay, so he's with Xyon Global. He's the president of Xyon Global. He had a lot of management experience and consulting. He's actually been in business with the staffing since 1999. How are you today, Kevin? How is it going?
I'm doing great. And it's going very, very well. Thank you for asking.
Awesome. So let me ask you, would you please explain to us what do you do and for how long have you been doing that?
Well, ever since I was a little boy, I've always wanted to build businesses. Matter of fact, I got the Wall Street Journal when I was 13 years old because I was just fascinated about businesses and companies. But for the last 20 plus years, I've owned Xyon Business Solutions, and we are in the staffing vertical, but as well as employment and management consulting.
Awesome. And who's your best customer?
SMBs, but a couple of public agencies. So tech companies is my passion. When I was in high school, I fell in love with programming and I thought that's where I was going to go. But then I realized I love people too much. And so I decided that I wanted to get into management. But I've always been in tech. So staffing when it comes to tech, such as Bird Rock Systems is a very good client of mine and several others. But I also work with like the city of Huntington Beach and Orange County Sanitation and take care of their IT needs as well.
Awesome. So your biggest customers, small, medium enterprises and
Yes, SMBs, yeah.
SMBs. And what was the biggest impact of COVID on your business?
People thinking differently. That's the best part, right? Is I have found when you have problems and issues in life, that's where the greatest change happens. And that's when things become unique. This Zoom, before, you remember it used to be Skype and how poorly that was,
Right.
and now it's Zoom. And what people have realized is they've been embracing the fact that we don't always have to be on site. On site is great, right? You definitely want the people interaction, but you can have family life too, and you can have balance by scheduling Zoom and on site. So I would say the greatest benefit is people thinking differently and rethinking the office environment. And that has been wonderful. And it's opened up so many doors for companies that had talent only within a 20 to 30 mile radius can now be national. And it's been really fantastic.
And what was the biggest learning since you've been a business owner?
People, people, people are awesome. And the one thing that before when I started and I was young, it was so focused on results, right? Just plow through and get things done. But then as you get older and you start realizing in life, the more you align and understand people and get to know them, understand their constraints and the areas that they excel in, once you start to speak at their DNA, their language, and you utilize what makes them happy, it is amazing how much more productive, how much happier the environment is, and what you can do. You can do so much more. I guess what I'm getting it down to is when you are effectively aligned with people, it's kind of like the parts together. Maybe you have five parts and they equal five, but when they're all unified together, it more equals seven or eight. And so focusing on the people part allows you to really leverage yourself.
Well, someone told me if you know more about people than you know about your product, you will be unusually successful in business. I would
That
go
is so true.
Yeah, so right, people are actually the assets of the business. They have to be taken care of, and we need to explain this and re-educate the business owners about this because some people they are not aware of the amount of treasure that they have in their organization. And
I couldn't agree more. And just to add to that is, like I said, I'm also a serial entrepreneur. And so I'm the vice president. I was previously the president of the San Diego Mountain Biking Association. And to get people to volunteer and donate hundreds of hours of time for free, and then thank you for it because it means so much to them because you value them on their personal level. I mean, when you're getting people to volunteer, that definitely says that something is going on that's right.
Right, right. So when you were growing up, is this what you always wanted to do, a serial entrepreneur?
Surprisingly, well, I always wanted to build companies. There's no doubt about that. But I remember one time I was in college and my HR teacher, the instructor, he and I went out after for some drinks. And he says, Kevin, I think you would be great at staffing. And I'm like, oh, that's a silly idea. And here I am. He was right. It was something that I actually have gravitated towards. Now, I've built a lot of companies, but I've always been involved in every bit of hiring and firing and managing of people. So indirectly, I never realized that staffing was part of it. But yes, I did envision it, but not at the level that it's at right now.
And who has been the best coach you have ever had and why?
Easily Mark Stevens. Mark Stevens is a mentor of mine. I've known him for over 20 years, and he has been a person that holds me accountable, a person that I can come to with difficult questions. More importantly, he's the person that'll tell me when I'm not doing something right. And I think the most important part of a coach is the person that has the strength to be able to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And my life, my family, my work would not be where it is today if it wasn't for Mark.
Awesome. So, do you have any quotes or favorite quotes or sayings that you would like to share with us today?
I do. One is I am a spiritual person. So for me, in the Bible, it talks about business all the time, right? There's a lot of money and everything in there. But my favorite is Matthew 7:24. And it talks about the way you build a foundation. A wise man builds a foundation on rock, whereas a poor man builds a foundation on sand. And when the rains come and the waters rise, that sandy foundation is washed away. Whereas when you build it on rock, the rains come and the waters rise and it stands. And I have always empowered that on everything that I build, that it is strong, that it is foundational, that it's scalable, and that it's going to last for a long time. The other quote that I very much like is with Simon Sinek. And he talks about people don't buy what you do, but they buy why you do it. And that's that passion, right? When you have that passion of what you do, you're not doing it because it's a job. You're doing it because it means so much to you, and that why of who you are. It just makes it so much more easier for people to relate that, yeah, I want to partner with you on this. So those are my two favorite quotes.
Speaking about passion, I've been a general manager for a global organization for like 20 years plus, and I managed to scale it and give it to a general manager, and now I'm managing overseas. But my passion is business, so that's why I'm doing this. I love the business. I love knowing about business, teaching people about business, and this is actually my passion. I would never agree with someone as much as I agree with you about this. So definitely, yeah.
It's not like you're working.
Exactly. It's about doing the right thing that you love. It's about practicing what you really enjoy, and this makes you on top of everyone else doing the same job. I 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
So, what have you learned about yourself during this journey of business?
The thing I've learned about this journey, think about this. You always hear in interview questions, what is your greatest strength? Right? Inadvertently, your greatest strength is almost always your greatest weakness. My greatest strength, I love people, right? But one of my greatest strengths truly is getting things done. Right? That's it. It's like if you say, Kevin, can this get done? Whereas everybody else might have a problem and can't figure out how to get it done. I like those areas. That's where I want to start, is where, it gets messy. But inadvertently, because I get so laser focused at time on getting things done, sometimes you can lose sight of the forest through the trees. Sometimes you bulldoze when you should kind of partner. Sometimes you push too hard when you need to just kind of relax a little bit. And so my greatest strength that I've learned is be aware of that weakness. Be aware that, yes, it's important to get this thing done. It is important, but at what cost? And does it need to get done now? Whereas a couple of days later, the cost is going to be very minor, and you're going to have happy people at the other end. So my greatest learning ability is to take your strength, but also realize it's not always your greatest strength, but it can also be an albatross around your neck. Be aware of it and work within that.
Talking about what cost, actually, I was graduated as an engineer, and I started my journey of learning business throughout my life, like until I got to the doctorate degree level. So when I was graduated as an engineer, I had to work in my family business when I was very young. So at engineering, we had only one solution to any problem. In business, you had more than 100 solutions for every problem. But
Yeah.
as you said, at what cost? Which one is the one that you want to use? And I'm 100% I can resonate with that. And I agree 100% with you about this. So if you started your business again, what would you do differently?
Well, again, I guess the question is, if I could start my business again with all of today's knowledge, I'd start it a lot better, right? A lot quicker with everything I've learned. But if I could give wisdom to, say, like a Kevin who is starting it out, like when I started to build Xyon was at 35, right? And I could say, okay, this is what you got to do. Definitely, it would be focusing on your greatest strength and weakness, right? Recognizing the love for people that are important, right? Because I loved people, but at times I got so focused on getting things done, I didn't care in the beginning as much as I cared about getting it done. That would be one of my biggest things. Foundationally, also, is don't build super fast, build at fast enough, meaning you're building and growing, but you're putting in the procedures so you can properly scale up. And then also acquire a lot of great mentors, or at least one amazing mentor, such as Mark, early on, that you can run ideas by, somebody that is always going to be there for you and give you the truth. And then lastly, is be willing to be a mentor to other people as well. Because once you kind of pay things forward, I always call it deposits in the bank. Put as much as you can into the bank on what you put into people, onto the way you help individuals with no expectations of a return. It is amazing what you will ultimately get back later on in life that you never anticipated from people doing the same for you.
Awesome. So what is the best advice you would you give an 18 years old you?
Go for it.
Go for it.
Go for it.
Uh,
Get educated. Get a plan. Be willing to fail. You can fail. Now is your time to fail all over the place, right? Go for it. Don't be afraid of that, right? Go for it. And then just give it everything you have. Take it and grab it and make it yours. And if it fails, that's a learning experience. I don't consider the only greatest failure is the failure you repeat. For me, the failure that I don't consider anything else a failure, because if you don't repeat it, you've learned, right? You built on that foundation of knowledge that you've had. So that student that's 18, fail, but learn and go for it and have fun.
so the advice is go for it. Don't go for it
Yeah.
and don't let fear hold you back from doing what the thing that you love, the thing that you think you're gonna succeed in. And know that you'll fail one time, two times, but this is gonna be a part of the journey to learning. So
Agree.
do you have
And
any
have fun because you're 18. Have fun.
have fun, right? So do you have any offers to include in our newsletter for your prospective customers? They want
Yeah.
to share this.
Yeah. So we do staffing. And one of the things that we do that makes our staffing unique, I call it a three-legged stool. And so for a stool to truly be working, you have a minimum of three legs. But the problem that you have with staffing is that you analyze if a person can do the job, you analyze if the DNA of the company is a right fit. Everybody does that. But the problem is occasionally that person still fails. And you scratch your head. And for me, that was one of the things that bothered me for so many years. How come we didn't see this? No one saw this, and this person just leaves. Well, I became a codified as a Kolbe, Kolbe certified consultant. And what we do on that is we analyze a person's natural strengths. So the strengths that a person naturally would utilize for something that's important, like say a wedding or a house or something, a vacation. How would you go about going about doing this, right? And you have these natural traits. Well, these natural traits don't change. So Kevin as a 13-year-old or Mahmoud as a 13-year-old to when you're in college, that 18-year-old we're talking about to today to end of life does not change. How you approach those areas that are important for you on your own time, you have the same approach. There's wisdom involved in it, but you're going to gain so much information, take so much risk, it does not change. Kobe assesses not only that those character traits of the person, but we also assess the character traits needed within the role. So let's just take a person who's an accountant. So you have an accountant and they're really good at all of the areas, but they love risk. But the job doesn't need risk. But that accountant has got a MBA, an accountancy, they're a CPA, they got 10, 15 years experience, and they're close to being a partner, but they love risk, but they're going over jobs and over jobs, and they quit. Well, if you take a look at it that they love risk, but accountants very rarely take risk, you can see that this individual is in the wrong role. You can't change the fact that they love to take risk. You can see they've got tons of experience and the DNA is great. So what we do is we assess those people to make sure that those are, if they're brought into the company, we let you know. And we recommend that if they're brought into the company, we realign some of those job skills that they have to something that also adds to it and maybe remove some of the things away. So we work very, very closely with teams. It's scientific. So instead of just staffing that just shoves people in, we actually partner with our clients to say, what does this role truly mean from the individuals? By doing these Kobe assessments, we also bump our guarantee up. For anybody here that wants to do this, I'll give you a 6-month guarantee on the hire. And usually when it comes to staffing, it's 1 to 3 months. But because of Kobe, and we will also, for everybody here, any placement that you want to do, that very first one will do free Kobe assessment on everything. So we'll give you a 6-month guarantee and we'll give you a free Kobe assessment. And then when you see what this means, it's amazing. Furthermore, once you have that, it also can align internally on the teams that you're having, where you're having individuals where maybe they're not performing up to the levels you want. Well, we can find out what does their role do, and then maybe shift some people around within that department on what they're doing so that they're better aligned. I did this at the last company, and we had, when I came in, we had a turnover of over 60%. And when I left, our turnover was 5.
Wow. Impressive.
Yeah, it works. So yes, I would love to do that for anybody.
But being a business, 100% I would agree with you, because the assessment that you make according to each employee is a very important tool that a lot of business owners just don't do it, and they face a lot of problems, and they pay a lot of money and a lot of unstable business environment because of just an assessment they could have done before getting into the recruitment process, during the recruitment process. So, well, some people think of HR as personnel, checking in, checking out, the vacations, labor issues, stuff like that. But thinking as HR, as acquiring the talent, taking care of that talent through performance management, appraisal, training, development, this is actually the right HR that you're doing. And I 100% agree with you. Anyone that is in business should be doing a lot of assessment before even hiring anyone into this environment. Thank you very much, Kevin, for the wonderful interview. You've been very helpful with us. Is there something that you would like to add today?
Yeah, just to everybody that's out there, have fun. Do what you love. Be willing to fail. When you fail, fail forward. And just look at the resources that you have around you, because they're wonderful. Utilize them because they want to be utilized, and listen. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate the advice, and see you again, inshallah.
That sounds great, Mahmoud. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.